Hello everyone. I hope you are doing well. This is an AI-created image of the mythical Atlantis. Take a look at that. That's what AI came up with. Did Atlantis exist? You can wonder about that your whole life. I used to wonder about Atlantis and different things when I was younger, in childhood, as a teenager, maybe into my 20s. But at a certain point, I started to realize it's a wild goose chase. I don't know if you have that expression worldwide, wherever you live, but it's a wild goose chase. It doesn't lead you to the truth. It's something to keep you distracted and attached and anchored to this realm. They might never find it. Maybe it didn't exist. Maybe it's a myth. You won't be able to determine that. Are you going to be wondering about that on your deathbed? Fat Finn wrote, what you're led to believe to be part of the, quote, evil nature order of things, such as floods, earthquakes, thunderstorms, tornadoes, random fires, I mean forest fires, and so on, aren't part of the original creation, my friend. So right away, he's writing a lot of comments on my channel, which makes me suspicious. Coming on strong, hasn't really viewed much of my content, but is disagreeing and thinks that I'm fooled right off the bat, that I'm led to believe, as though I'd never heard of reality being hijacked. They are artifact conjured, caused by the entities in power who are masters of materia, seen as they helped with the making of the creation. They didn't make it themselves. They cannot create anything by themselves. I've heard all this before, but they can modify and twist as they see fit. All right, it goes on and on. Down to reason being is very simple. Keep us away from the breath of creation and keep us fully invested in their made-up Saturnian system, making us believe that their hijacked version, this is the hijacked reality theory, is the real deal, exactly as our dear friend Goat Titties does. In the same way they have hijacked us humans, they've done the same with pretty much everything else that was a spawn of creation. I would love to pick your brain on many different topics. You know, I've heard of the hijacked reality theory. I'm not new to this. I've heard of this decades ago. Same with Crater Earth. I heard of that theory probably 8, 10, 15 years ago. And Hollow Earth, I heard of that, I think, in the early 1990s, if not late 80s, 1980s. I've been at this a while, my friend. We're not really friends, but maybe that's just an expression. He ended it by saying from one Stefan to another Stephen. Anyway, in a way, I appreciate what he's saying, all right, in a way. But in another way, he's coming to my channel kind of pretending that he has this stuff figured out. And here's a Tartarian image, or AI-created Tartarian image. The old world was perfect and they hijacked it. We used to live in these fancy buildings is a big theory. I don't think so. I don't think there were enough fancy buildings for most of humanity to live in. Maybe the rich lived in them just like they've lived in mansions and palaces like Versailles forever, going way back. I don't see evidence that this world was good. I put your Tartaria section of YouTube aside. I mean, it's laughable to me if you really think about it. But where's your evidence? Oh, look at this creature with the dragon. Look at this thing here. Where's your evidence that this world was a beautiful paradise or a Garden of Eden and it was hijacked? Because as far as we can look back, there were floods and hurricanes. We have geological evidence of ancient floods, thousands of years old. We have evidence of natural disasters. There's writings about it and historic people documented it. You could say, well, all that's fake, but then where's your evidence? If you dismiss all the evidence that we have, that there was always disease here, there were lepers written about in the Bible and other documents, historical documents. There's always been disease and disaster here and evil here. But you want to believe, I know with hopium, that it was hijacked. I think hijack theory is hopium theory, okay? And I'm going to address this right now. I think it's hopium. I think you want to believe that this was a good creation. It was just hijacked by these archons or entities or these masters of materia or the Nephilim, whatever. Doesn't matter what name you give them, demons, whatever. Really? Well, show me evidence that it was good. And if it was good and created by a good, powerful being, good, powerful God, why did it allow it to be hijacked and remain this way? See, I think you believe that you've got it figured out, but you haven't thought it through. You're on a channel where I do think things through. And you come here, and instead of watching my content and thinking, you come here offering up these old theories that I've already looked at long ago. And you're kind of assuming, well, Stephen never thought it could have been hijacked. You're assuming that I haven't by leaving these big comments. You don't have it figured out because your theory doesn't make sense. If it was hijacked, where's the good God of creation to come and say, well, I'm not going to allow my good creation to be hijacked for 1,000 years or 1,000,000 years. I'm going to put it back to the way it was supposed to be. I'm going to fix it. I'm not going to allow it to be evil and allow there to be earthquakes and hurricanes and tornadoes and firestorms and volcanic eruptions and all the evil shit they did, the 10,000 diseases and children with leukemia. Where's that good God to fix it, to restore it to the Garden of Eden before it was quote unquote fallen, which is a Bible story. So you're going back to old shit. You're going back to the Bible, the fall of the world, the fallen world. It's all the old programming. My point being, the hijack theory is hopium. It doesn't add up. It doesn't hold water. And I'm saying this passionately on purpose because I'm tired of people coming to my channel, my channels. I have 3 running at the moment. Hippie Jesus. People coming to my channel and instead of looking at what I've put out, they just want to rehash and tell me the stuff I've heard before. What are you going to go into next? Hollow Earth theory that's been around for decades? The Garden of Eden? You're going to tell me about the snake in the garden? You're going to start preaching to me biblical stuff? Like, what are you going to do? Preach Tartaria? I've looked at all that shit over the years. I'm not ignorant of it. I'm not unaware. I've looked at all that stuff. And I'm just tired of people coming to my channel and just doing that. You're not here to learn. You're here to preach to me. That's the way it comes across, just like Christians that have come into my live streams and preached and preached and preached. There's millions of places you can do that on YouTube or in the realm. You could go on a street corner and preach about the Tartars and Tartaria and the great civilization that these primitive peoples came all over the world, including to America, to build these great architecture, and they didn't have it in Tartaria themselves, out on the other side of Russia. It's ridiculous, but it's what baby truthers do. They fall for this shit. The world was an Eden. It was a paradise before it was hijacked. Evidence, please? Where's your evidence, concrete evidence to show that this earth was a paradise for humanity, that disease didn't exist, that earthquakes and floods didn't exist, tornadoes didn't exist, hurricanes, tsunamis, volcanic eruptions, forest fires, firestorms that burned millions of wildlife, innocent animals, that it wasn't life eating life? Where's your evidence, please? Because it sounds like a Bible story to me. And the Bible is nicknamed the greatest story ever told, because it is a bunch of stories. It's a bunch of books that were storybooks put together and then pushed by Freemasons and other groups. Not just Freemasons, but later on Jesuits and the Vatican. That's what it is. And that's what truthers do on YouTube. They push old stories, like Atlantis, for example, and Tartaria. It's written on old maps. So it must have been a worldwide empire, is their jump to conclusion. It's laughable. It's laughable. Where is your evidence that this was a beautiful paradise of a realm without disease and suffering for humans and animals, that it was all hijacked and changed? When was it changed? By who? By what? What created it then to be a paradise? Why did they let it be changed and allow this suffering for who knows how long? How come in the afterlife people get tricked by entities? How come it's a matrix? How come I have counter evidence galore? I have mountain ranges of evidence to show what this realm actually is. Now this is gangster Jesus. He's different. I guess he got hijacked too. Jesus got hijacked. He was real, but he got hijacked, right? Did the Jesus character get hijacked? Yeshua, did he get hijacked? Maybe he did. Maybe he was more of a Gnostic, the way the Gnostics believe in Jesus. Gnostics believe in Jesus, by the way, but they believe he was more of a mystic and a teacher and trying to teach you this is a matrix and how to free yourself. That's the Gnostic belief. They do believe in Jesus. The ancient Gnostics did. Some of the modern ones do as well. Do you know that? Have you looked into that? Have you paid attention to what's on my channel? Have you considered that I might have a correct model for this realm? Have you even considered that? But have you looked into hours and hours of my work to say, oh, okay, well, I'm not going to fool Stephen with this hijack stuff. But as a thought experiment, Gangster Jesus is pretty badass. But as a thought experiment, let's roll with what you think, what you believe. And that's what it is. It's a belief, because you don't really have any evidence, concrete evidence to prove that these things didn't exist in this realm in original creation. And it all got hijacked and it hasn't been changed since. You don't have evidence for that, which is obvious to me because I've been studying this realm in reality since I came here. But let's put it this way. We'll do a thought experiment. Let's look at it this way. Let's hypothetically say that everything you said is correct, which makes no sense, but it was hijacked. It was a beautiful creation. Amazing, perfect, no disease, no earthquakes, hurricanes, tornadoes, all the things. No diseases. It was a paradise. And it got hijacked by evil entities. Who created the evil entities? We'll put that aside. We'll put all this aside and roll with your theory. And the good creation, the good creator of creation, didn't intervene then. It left it as evil, left it hijacked, and let it roll this way. No interference. Didn't say, I'm going to take my creation back. I'm not going to allow evil to dominate. I'm not going to allow good, innocent spirits to suffer, animals and humans. I'm not going to stand for this. It just somehow allowed all of this. And that somehow this makes sense in your mind. A good God or good creator or creators would just allow it to be hijacked and spoiled and turned massively evil and full of suffering. Okay? It's just been allowed in your mind, I guess, because it's this way. It hasn't been changed back to original creation. I don't know if you've considered that, but we'll just roll with it. How does that help us now? Even if you were correct, even if it once 10 trillion years ago or 10 million years ago, whatever number, 5,000 years ago, 6,000 years ago, some of these Christians believe, whatever number, I don't care. Let's say as a thought experiment that you're correct. It was great. It was Eden. How does that help us now? Even if we knew for certain it was hijacked, how does that help us today in what we're living in, what we're dealing with, other than make you feel better? Like, oh, it was once beautiful here. And I wish it was like that. I wish it was beautiful again. I wish it was peaceful. I wish evil wasn't in power here. I wish it was that way. And wishful thinking, oh man, and all in your feelings. Because let's say it was hijacked as a thought experiment. How does that help us? Well, it doesn't at all. Whether it was the way I believe this realm was designed this way, and your belief is that it was hijacked. You don't have any supporting evidence to show that it was hijacked. How does it help you? I would say it hurts you, that belief, because you're looking at something you can't prove and you're believing it was good. And then you think, well, it can be fixed. And that's the trap. That's the trap that keeps you here. That's like putting an anchor around your ankle, a big ship's anchor that's 5,000 pounds, and saying, all right, I'm attached to this realm. We can fix it. We can make it a paradise again. I don't believe that you can. That's the trap. That's the trick. Getting over that is saying, this can't be fixed. I'm leaving. That's the way to freedom and being a sovereign free spirit and getting free from evil is leaving this place. I'm not saying leaving today. I'm not saying, oh, you have to do it today, do it. No, I'm not saying that. Not at all. Eventually your body's going to die though. In this realm that you believe was a Garden of Eden essentially, or a paradise or beautiful creation was hijacked. Your body's degrading as we speak. It's aging. You can't do anything about it. It's not a damn thing you can do about it. Any of you. And I'm going to drive this point home until you get it. You're getting older. Your body's degrading and decaying, and it will die and it will rot, or it will be burned and cremated into ashes to speed up the process. But it's unavoidable. And a lot of you don't want to face the unavoidable. You want to go to hopium. Like, oh, this was hijacked. Stephen, this was wonderful here. Look at Philadelphia's City Hall building. And the Tartars came across the realm to build that. Where's your evidence, please, that it wasn't Masons in America building it? Evidence, please, that it wasn't European people building all of these great architectural marvels? Evidence, please? Can you provide some? Because a lot of you truthers are wrapped up in beliefs, just like Bible believers. There's no difference. I know you don't like it, some of you. There's a reason why there's a Bible in every Masonic hall and temple in this realm, from America to Australia, everywhere, across Europe, China, Japan, African countries. Book of programming. They want you to believe in a Garden of Eden and a fall of man. And you did it. It's your fault. Adam and Eve. Blame people. It fell because of people. And they blame us. Same old story. Heard it all before. Rehashed a million times over YouTube and by Christians saying we're in a fallen world. It was a paradise. It's the same story. It was hijacked. by evil, by Satan. It's the same story with different names. That's all it is. It's the same fucking thing. Maybe one day you'll get tired of it. Maybe not. Maybe one day you'll do something remarkable and look into my work and my model and start seeing what I'm saying before you come to my channel to preach to me that this was hijacked and this was a good place without disease and without natural disasters, and it was wonderful and the architecture was better. Therefore, people must have lived better. And it was free energy. And you think I haven't heard all of this before on YouTube? Communicating with people and exchanging ideas and message boards and forums. In the old days, typing, okay? I'm not new to this. I've been researching and pondering this my entire life. But I know people want to come and push their theory. They're not interested in what I'm talking about. They just come here to talk and talk and talk. And when someone's brand new and they're talking a lot, it's a red flag for me every time. Every time. Because they believe they have it all figured out. Then what are you doing on my channel? You here just to try to convince me of your theory? Whether you're a Christian, a Tartaria believer, a hijacked realm believer, you're just here to preach to me, essentially. You're not interested in my content, my model, my material, my ideas. You're here to try to convince me, oh, no, Stephen, this was a beautiful place, but it was hijacked by evil. Well, then where's the good God or the good team of gods or team of angels or team of warriors, team of creators that made it to take it back? Why is it allowed to remain evil, full of suffering and life-eating life and disasters and 10,000 plus documented diseases and children with leukemia and brain cancer and bone cancer? Why? Children with genetic deformities and genetic diseases, animals eating animals alive, suffering galore, more than the mind can comprehend. And nothing's been done to bring it back to a good creation. Nothing. In fact, it gets worse year by year. It gets more evil. It gets more insidiously evil and malevolent and sinister and darker. The food, the water, the air is worse now than it was 1,000 or 2,000 years ago. Anybody should be able to say that. It gets worse and worse. No intervention. No turning it back to that beautiful Garden of Eden or paradise or utopia, whatever way you want to look at it. I think it's hopium and copium. I think hijacked earth theory is hopium theory. It's hopium, copium, and hopium. That's what it is. It's a way to avoid facing what is, what's observably true around us. It's avoidance of truth. It's latching onto a belief saying, well, what about Atlantis? What about the Garden of Eden? These are all myths written in storybooks. Where's the evidence? Even if there was an island, let's say, that sank, that was designed that way, with the rings and the centrifugal design, and maybe it had some technology. So what? Doesn't help us. Doesn't change we're in an evil realm. Doesn't mean they were superior beings or good or great. Architecture doesn't prove that this realm was fantastic and pure and without evil. Doesn't prove it to me. No architecture that could be found would prove that to me. There could be evil places with great architecture. Have you ever considered that? Like ancient Rome, for example, and other places. So I'm not convinced. Even if it was hijacked, it doesn't help us today. I'm still facing what this place is. That's what I'm going to do. Take care, everyone.